video. Thanks for tuning in and sharing in this now moment with myself and with one another. If you have not seen these videos before, welcome back if you have. My intention is unity and oneness and the highest levels of love light. Obviously I'm driving, so I'm not going to be looking at the camera very much. How are you guys feeling? I don't know what the cellular activity is going to be like this week. As of right now, last night was pretty intense in a good way for me personally. Everything I share is based on my own personal experiences or what I experienced through sessions with other light workers or conversations with other starseeds, aka ascending humans. Evolving, changing, shifting, moving humans. Let's see. Synchronicities. I did a Synchronicity Sunday video yesterday with my dear friend Candace. If you guys feel guided to check that out on YouTube. I'm just going to go into a little flow because I've been on this piano key kick. And I was shown this video of us playing the piano. And I talked about it briefly in my Synchronicity Sunday video yesterday, but I want to go into a little deeper. When I asked for a collective reading, a reading on show me what is energetically going on with the collective that would be relevant right now to share. Got a little light language coming in, so I'm gonna let it rip. So sometimes I let these words come through because they change the frequency and the feeling in which I'm expressing the messages. So this piano, let's go into a little flow about that and then I'll talk a little bit more detail. As we change the keys in which we play, as we coordinate in a new way, as we allow ourselves to re-coordinate plan words, big plan words, that which it is that we are playing, as we allow ourselves to change the tune, we then chime in with a higher group of chords, if you will, in accordance with a higher grouping plan words. We allow ourselves to sing at a higher frequency. We allow ourselves to see at a higher rate of speed, a higher rate of efficiency. We allow ourselves to move into a higher state of being, a higher state of expression, a higher state of frequency. As we play at this board, if you will, I'm seeing a keyboard. We key into our frequency as sound. As we play with the different variations of sound, we then light up the board. We light up the frequency network patterns that then communicate through the board. I'm seeing like a motherboard, a computer, but also I'm just seeing the synapses in the brain. And this then, I'm seeing collaborates and also coordinates. All right, so I'm being guided to play with coordinates. When we talk about coordination, it means many different things in this plan words. We coordinate, we line up with certain frequencies and patterns. We line up with certain codes. We set up a certain order to things. We create chords with, accordances with. So I'm seeing this chord that is created like your chord to source, right? And all of our guides and those beings that are working with us in accordance with a greater accordance. So there's certain rules and sets of rules that we have been following up until this point from one perspective. Those rules have all shifted and combined with different directives, yet they still spool through in the threads, if you will, in this interweaving with the old sounding board, the old sound matrix, if you will. For those songs are still playing. And I'm seeing that they've laid the bricks in the foundation. So there's this false stimulus. That's all a play on words, but I'm hearing it's a false stimulus that was founded by certain foundlings. Like, basically there were beings that created this, what seemed like a solid foundation. That is what's crumbling. But the sound that held together the original blueprint and the original sounds is underneath all of it. And I know this is a little out there, but if you visualize a dimension, and that dimension has a certain frequency that holds it together, that's what I'm seeing. That's what I'm referring to. So what happens is we've got these, we're playing a combination. What I'm hearing is a combination low key. Ooh, so many plays on words. So we're playing with this combination in a low frequency key. And what it's doing is it's setting up the stage for a higher frequency combination. So it's like when you play, I don't know music, so I'm not musically educated, but what I'm seeing is if you're sitting at a keyboard and you're playing whatever the set is, the background of the song, and then you add to it from there. I know there's a word for it, and apologies to all those out there that I don't know what that word is, but I think you're following what I'm putting down. And what I'm hearing is, are you following the tracks that I'm putting down? And this has to do with traction. Ooh, so many plays on words right now. I'm hearing it has to do with traction. There have been a lot of synchronicities yesterday with train tracks and tracks, but I'm also seeing tracks of a song, right? So we're putting certain tracks, okay, like a record, when you loop it, it's not a looping though. What it is, because I'm hearing, put the record and he looped it. You guys, I'm still waking up. Whew. I'm at a stoplight. So essentially what I'm seeing is so much. Whew. Still waking up. Whew. I'm seeing a truck that says old time, and then I'm seeing another one that says master painters. And I just see this is so symbolic, you guys. Wow. So these human mastery, think about painting, think about the colors. You might have an original foundation or base in a painting, and then you add to it. You add the dimensions. And I've talked about this before, but let's get back to the piano keys. And I'm seeing bell right now on the back of a license plate. So the bell, you can ring my bell. The bell is, to me, it represents the heart and the grail of the heart, which if you put it upside down, it looks like a bell. So what's happening is we've laid down the tracks, and now we're adding all of the things to these tracks. It might have an original sound underneath it, just like when you download a DJ and there's like one song, but you've got 10 different DJs that give their interpretation of that song. And that's part of what the message has been, is that we're all going to hear a different part. If you've ever listened to okay, I'm going to give an example for tarot cards. If you've ever read tarot cards, which again, I'm not a huge tarot card reader, but I have them and I've used them. For me, I don't read them traditionally. I don't do a lot of things traditionally. I don't use words traditionally. I mean, I do, obviously, otherwise you wouldn't understand a word that I'm saying, but I take everything and I just make it my own. And that's what we're being invited to do for the most part. Obviously, there's a certain set of rules. You know, if I'm a chemist, there's certain elements that I'm not just going to automatically say, oh, this element's going to go, I've decided that this now is this. No, there's a certain foundation of rules that are still applicable and still need to be applied to what it is that we're experiencing and creating. And what I'm hearing is the sound base format. And then everything else from there is adaptable. It's adapting to us. And so we're being invited to lay the tracks have been laid. We are the ones laying the tracks, you guys. But we're also the ones adding to it, making it more colorful, making it more juicy. And when I say juice, I hear the nectar of life. And it reminds me of the nectar that we need to keep us excitable, to keep us growing, to keep us expanding and looking and being curious. I'm hearing stay thirsty, my friends. And as I say that, I see a sign for pine. So wood, lumber. And I see this as a reference to what kind of tree are we going to be. I like to express myself as a pine tree. I like to express myself as a banyan tree. I like to express myself as a palm tree, right? But we all have roots that connect to the mycelium, that's connected to everything, that's connected to Mother Earth. But the expression of that particular creation is what we're being invited to unfold into and to play our own signature frequency, because it is playing and reverberating out into the space that we're all creating from within. Now, also, when I come back to pine, I see pine cone. So the pine cone is the pineal glandular nectar that is stimulated by us tuning into our root system. So this is a play on words as well. So it isn't always just about the pine cones. You also have to have a structure. You have to have a tree that's rooted in the ground that isn't full of parasites, bugs or whatever, in order to produce the pine cone that is then created to reproduce and be productive. And I'm hearing reproduction. So a lot of this is a play on words, but essentially what we're really being guided to do is really focus on our inner spiral, our inner movement, how we're playing our music. When I was shown the piano the other day, I was shown many different analogies, the black and white keys. But the music that's played isn't black or white, it's color. So we're using black and white keys to play in a color coordination, a coordination of frequency analytics, and this is a play on words. It allows us to analyze, like from a sound booth, what's out of balance and what's in balance. It allows us to recognize what we've been internalizing and then allow us to create form, to create from form, to create in formation, to create form from internal to external. It allows us to create our reality from our seat on our throne. Oh my goodness. So I'm seeing a pianist playing on the bench, we call that, and I'm seeing the throne and recognizing that all keys are coming together. So we're not just playing one song, we're playing this many songs in a symphony. But if we're too busy paying attention, and this is another branch of this play, which I'm going to do a video, I think, and go back and kind of break this down and expand out the word coordination, because I'm being guided to do that, because it's important to see many different angles from what's being shown in this energetic description of what's going on a collective scale. And a scale is musical notes. So we're expressing in colors, we're expressing in all colors, we're expressing in many different variations like snowflakes. So if we're too busy tuning into someone else in the band, someone else in the symphony, it becomes less symphonetic and it becomes more symphonetic. So we're being invited to feel into our bodies, and I'll come back to this in just a moment. You guys, I can't make this stuff up. There is a person who's I'm seeing this as a synchronicity. Om. So I'm being guided to go into this a little bit. So when you talk about sound in yoga, one of the first mantras that I learned and I thought was kind of ridiculous, and now I see the reference to it, is Lam, Vam, Ram, Yam, Mam, Hum, Sam, Om. And I'm not sure if I said that right. Lam, Vam, Ram, Yam, Sam, Hum, Om. So if you take that up each of the chakra systems and you do that out loud, and you can Google it to make sure it's right, it's opening up those, it's resonating with those sounds in order to open up the chakra system so that all of the keys will play in harmony. If you're playing, and I'm hearing keynotes, ooh, so many plays on words here. As you're playing a piano and you're hitting a chord that doesn't work, you have to tune the piano. Our chakra system, think of it as a piano keyboard. Think of it as tuning in and connecting to the motherboard. Think of it as tuning in and connecting with the pings on our mapping system that allows us to hone in on what it is that we are, fill in the blanks, tuning into, creating, processing, integrating. And so Om, right, is our resonant sound connecting with all. But from another perspective, it's the sound of Mother Earth, home, Om. It's the union, the yoking together, the coming together in the nectar, in the yoke, right? Lam, Vam, Ram. And Ram is, from one perspective, it's a lot of different things. So I'm hearing the ram's horns. So this also has to do with the ears and the spirals and the ram's horns. We could have something going on astrologically right now with the ram. I don't know. Oh, hello. Aries. Oh, I cracked myself up. Yes, we're in Aries right now. I believe that's the ram. And I'm hearing, again, rambunctious. Okay, I'll come back to that in just a minute. So we om and tune into settling down. Settle down, it'll all be clear. The rambunctious, the raucousness, I'm hearing it's all that's going on. So if we're playing in a symphony, we're kind of finding those other beings who are also playing that signature frequency sound. And we're tuning into that, the sound behind the sound. And Candace and I talk about this a lot in our videos. It's the sound behind the sound. When you're toning, you can almost hear the overtone, the undertone. And so we're playing that while the other may grab our attention, whatever that noise is that's perhaps part of this orchestration. We're being called to bring it back in. And RAM is also, RAM is also the solar plexus, which I said in the beginning. Oh, I don't know if I said it in this video, but I'm not sure what's going on with the sun this week. But I feel into it. And I feel when there is something going on with the sun or astrologically, because I'm tuning in and recognizing that something is different. So the other message that was coming through very strongly is that unless we're practicing our piano playing, we never truly learn how to play. And that's a play on words too. So I'm being shown people sitting at the piano and getting bored. I'm being shown people sitting at the piano and being like, well, I don't know where to begin, so I'm not even going to play. I'm being shown people sitting at the piano and listening to the people that are in the trumpet section, and they're just totally distracted and not able to combine their sounds. They're not able to combine and find that flow because they're feeling so distracted or overpowered by the sound of the trumpet section. Does this make sense? And I'm also being shown that there's some that are overwhelmed by the orchestration of all the different groups that are playing in the orchestra or the symphony. And then I'm also being shown some that are totally playing the piano and they're just like not even recognizing that they're part of a symphony and they're only playing their song and it doesn't match anything else. That's okay, by the way. Dancing to the beat of your own drum. However, in order to create in a symphonetic way that is harmonious, there is an element of working together that we're being called to access. And while playing to the beat of our own drum is so important, and that's maybe the most important thing for us to focus on right now, creating our own inner symphony, this particular message is also recognizing that there's a time and a place for all of that. There's a time and a place where we recognize the solo of the trumpet section and we admire that. There's a time and the place when we recognize that other people in the symphony aren't in rhythm. We recognize that. But it doesn't pull us off our own section, our own. And I'm also being shown that some people will want to get up and not play the piano and go over and play the trumpets for a little bit. It's not about the instrument that we're choosing to play, because ultimately when you play another instrument, you still have to play off the same base foundational chords. This is kind of the message that's coming through. It's like you still have to resonate with the bass, right? Do, re, la, do, a deer, a female deer, re, a drop of golden sun, la, so, fa, ti, do, right? So again, lam, bam, ram, hum. So there's still a certain order to things, whether or not we believe, well, that's a whole other can of worms. So having said all of that, what happens is then we're able to access these other sounds and songs by combining and coming together in this frequency. There's so many places I could go with this. Okay. So I'm hearing this song that came yesterday. So I'm seeing the Righteous Brothers. What is that? You've lost that loving feeling. But I'm seeing the two, for example, that two, they totally look different. They sound different, but they come together to create one song. And then I'm seeing the parallel with it has to come from the heart. And I'm hearing Rush, Closer to the Heart. That is the song of the month. Well, the song of forever, really. But let's just pick a song, any song, Rush, Closer to the Heart. Because it is about coming back to here. So I'll come back to all of this. When we're sitting at our piano, we have to practice feeling into our body. And the piano represents not only as above, so below, as within, so without. It represents our body. It represents the body of the collective. It represents so many different things as a symbol. So if we're not practicing what it sounds like to play the piano, and we're not tuning into what it feels like to be in tune, and we're asking for help, then we're not necessarily recognizing when we're receiving it. Or we're looking for certain things outside of us to give us answers to what's really going on inside of us. And that is a process. And there is practice involved in this sometimes. Although from another perspective, it takes no practice necessarily to just be in tune with oneself, because you're never not connected to yourself from another perspective. But from another perspective, we can also feel or think we are very disconnected from source, or from, whatever our idea, again, ideology, idea, identity we think is. Whew. I'll go back to the reference, the train. We're laying the tracks. We are the tracks. We are the conductor. We are the maestro. We are the locomotive. We are the caboose. And we're everything in between. And sometimes we want to be different. I'm hearing stations. We want to station ourselves in different places, right? We want to create from a different station. And I'm hearing Sirius, for example, right? We want to create that different tune. But we're tuning into different stations and frequencies. And that's all great. That's all fine. That's all good. Because we want to create from a diverse, I'm hearing, set of quandaries. Quantification. So we are all different numbers, all coordinating and working together to create and coordinate different coordinations on the map. And that's something else to recognize as well. Oh boy. So I'm going to end on that note because I could go into so many different layers here. And one of it is we are creating different coordinates on the map, you guys. But the biggest message, and maybe I'll do a part 2, is to tune into your body right now. And I'll just share a little esoteric, but also my reality. I see the plasma and the energy that's all around, especially it's stronger at certain times than others for me. And I recognize when in my body, most of the time, I mean, there are moments I'm not always aware, I'm not always tuned in. I'm just like everybody else, right? We all go through these processes. Sorry, another synchronicity. Fusion. So we all go through these different processes and these different steps, but what I'm being shown is this takes a certain amount of coordination. It takes a certain amount of collaboration with ourselves to coordinate where we want to go and look at where we've been and see how it all comes together and how all of it fits together. And if it doesn't fit, then we might want to think about taking what we need from that particular baseline song and perhaps playing a different, create a different song combination. I kind of got a little distracted with the fusion in front of me and the numbers, but our bodies, our mechanics. So I had sometimes we get these tingle, like at night if you're laying in bed. One of the things I invite you to do is just notice if you are feeling electrical. My biggest thing is electricity. So last night I was super itchy and I thought, like my third eye was tingly, my crown was tingly, and then I'd have like these little electrical pulses going through my hands. And back in the day, 5 years ago, I would have been like, what's wrong with me? What did I eat? What do I need to cleanse? Something's going on. I didn't have enough magnesium. And while this can all be true, by the way, I had to do a cleanse and I had to get rid of the heavy metals in my body and all that good stuff. And that may be where you're at right now, you guys. But what was happening was I recognized, whoa, I'm getting a lot of activations and downloads right now. So I just stopped and centered in on my body. I centered in on my breath. And I just started paying attention to what I was feeling. And as I did that, I recognized that there was all of these beautiful plasma energies floating around the room, all around me. And I just watched them move and sparkle and take different shapes. And I just breathed it all in and I connected with this energy and I allowed it to participate in creation with me. I became aware. I acknowledged it. And I recognized that these were beings that maybe don't have a physical form, but it's also this activation. They were my helpers coming in to essentially assist in creating a higher frequency and space for my container to fit in. So I was much more relaxed about it. And I know I kind of went over to like 5 different places, but I felt myself shifting or feeling different about what I had experienced before. So my point is, we can get wrapped up in the body sensations, and this is just part of the process. So the more we know thyself, this isn't what I'm used to feeling. Oh, okay, I felt this 5 years ago when I was going through upgrades. Oh, okay, I was seeing all kinds of things. But if I hadn't stopped and paid attention, I wouldn't have recognized what I was seeing. I wouldn't have recognized that I was seeing anything. And again, it's being at the keys going, I wonder what this sound feels like. And that's kind of what I played with last night. And I mean, for an hour, I just laid there and played with these energies. And I know, I'm aware that to some people that sounds crazy. But as I was guided by my guides to let go of what people think by sharing this YouTube channel with you guys, or Instagram, or whatever you're watching this, you're not the only one. We're all going through this in our own way. We're all experiencing seeing beings. Maybe people are seeing spaceships. Maybe people are seeing colors. Maybe people are hearing sounds from their higher guidance team. Maybe people are feeling the energies coming from the sun. Maybe people are feeling the telepathy kick in. We're all expressing in our own skin suit. And this skin suit is our piano. And this piano is part of something bigger. And something bigger is also, though, our own unique individual expression. And how we want that to look isn't the same for everybody else. So stop tuning in from one perspective to everybody else all the time, and really be tuning into our own space that helps us to then make the adjustments that ripples out to everyone else. That makes sense. All right, guys, in love and light, have fun co-creating. Namaste.